Yes, I said that very fact proves it.
Hold it!
So, you do admit that you had the murderous intentions towards Miss Brett, then? Ha! The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of claiming some sort of righteous indignation. She was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on our empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance, so I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things on the right for the people. Yes, it's my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. So in summary, murders are intentions, then. Whatever you want to call it. The point is this. The Englishwoman was a blight, so I had to do what was right for society. Yet a real wrong was done by a student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poison was nothing to do with me at all.
Hold it!
Still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim. Obviously, it'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you're already wearing braces like these. Well, those aren't trousers, those are overalls. The accused administered the poison, following which the witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. The crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That's how the law works, you see. Yokel. Who knows how many even learn something here. Now, my other problem is, like, we don't have any proof the poison is actually what killed her. Like, yes, there was signs that she had the poison in her system, but she wasn't dead at the time he stabbed her, and she died right after he stabbed her. So it just doesn't add up. Like I feel like we gotta get the cup somehow. I believe. Why else do we have the tester? The regent. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in a space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something that evening, we got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. It's not the kind of law this court upholds. Reiterate, yes.
Hold it!
Exactly where they are. About what happened in a restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. Some girl was laying into an Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson, professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British consular court in Shanghai, however. There's little doubt she would have simply been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside. You could see it. I really felt for her. Okay, she's gonna jump in right here, isn't she? I can't stand and listen to this tripe. Ray! Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making up all of this. Susato, please, you have to make us listen. Return to the dock at once, Membami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. The journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, big, dirty, peeping Tom. Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain this accused remarks. I will grant the request of the defense. But, Your Excellency! This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to strive for the defense's obvious concern. So, whilst recognizing this conservative protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It has nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
Stolen poison that killed the victim? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely there would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors of the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. That's true. I persuaded Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But I left. I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I feel ashamed of myself. It's just that if I had singularly terrible experience with the deadly poison, I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be any incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled at those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. I guess. Mini Memo-san, one small question if you don't mind. I do mind. You can't you see, I'm busy. Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you heard. Exclusive deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Huh? Sorry? Don't know what you're talking about. Sweating bullets. Yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett. Word for word. Well, Mini Memo-san? That's a journal, and a citizen of a free country. I don't have to reveal my sources. That's founding principle of mini-memoism. Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article that he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. So that's what it's all about? You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in? That's why you came up with this stinking story about me arguing with her? Well, shut up. My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want to go on the record. Very well. You may amend your formal testimony. Point is, if you poison someone, there'd be no reason to go and stab the person as well. Did he just admit it? Like, well, because if he stabbed her, he'd give him an extra, so he'd be like, oh, I can hear all this, I can just pin it on her.
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it. Completely reckless. Though, might it surprise you to learn I'm a bit of an improperous pepper pourer, as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have only minutes away from death. Yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been a good reason for that. If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly, he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. Between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there's only one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry? What change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and English. Yeah, that's it. That's when Mimento-san first found the exact nature of the poison he used. That could be the key. Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. He used the poison on her. He heard it was a dangerous substance, so he gave it to her. And then when he heard about the nature of it, he realized he had to stab her to try to cover for it. On the face of it, the logic sounds entirely reasonable. There's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Britt's murder. Just think of a puzzle explanation of why he might have stabbed her after the poison. So that everything would drop into place. And that's what we should be looking for. In order to do that, let's try to glean more information.
Objection!
Well, I can think of one reason. What? What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course you did. There could be no question of that. After all, when we were in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. There's one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Mbami's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Britt's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Mini-Memo-san had made it quite clear that he was observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the man had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Minbami-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Minimamo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which subsequently included his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it couldn't be readily obtained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could have come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone affected by the poison would exhibit telling signs and death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. The eyes are pointed at showing similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Ugh! Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of that toxin we've been developing. None of them would have been foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Minbami-san is no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered the unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, Raiten Minimamo. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. And it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake. Because that poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened from the far side of the beach hut's thin wall, you learned these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you had to plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
What good could have that possibly do? It's an obvious counsel. The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of the pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened yet. Exactly. Because without any revealing signs that the new secret poison's use, no one would ever have suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effect of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to make its use, which he attempted to do by plunging the knife into the middle of the victim's back. Order! Argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward? There are a number of, yes, I counter completely.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way he nurtures the remnants of his top knot and keeps clinging to lost hopes. Lost hope! Hold it! Now what? You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai. Fallen? Oh, you call him fallen. My brother, I don't need a counter-argument. What? What are you talking about? Should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't see a need for a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? We've literally proven with evidence you are the only person that could have done this. What more do you want? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, but without evidence it means nothing. Whereas I, based on my news facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here, in my memo. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what Shoyu News is famous for. Its power of the printed word. So yeah, how did he get the poison? That is still a question. How's then? How's that then? Blown to the story wide open. See, I write a mini memo, a mere reporter from the Shoyu News. Couldn't possibly have stolen the poison from the professor's laboratory. Must have stolen poison that day. You used it to kill. If that's the case. As you've identified the poison itself as the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. What's your point, you annoying, handsome country bumpkin? The point is, there's no way that you, Mini Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. I think I've heard enough of verbal conjectures, thank you. The court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question? Did he put it in a pen? Wait. Wait. Could he have put it in a pen? Can we test the inside of this? I'm going for it. Proof, Your Excellency. It's this fountain pen. The fountain pen? How could that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousand of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in this country for the first time some 15 years ago now. Bah! I swear by a weaseled hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Stuck up scrumptious ink, and out one's work is washed with the words in the blink of an eye. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this talking of sucking up ink have? And just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject through the nib again, of course. My word, can this really be? Well, Mini Memo-san? We saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day. You used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison out Susan's nib and into the pen's reservoir. Ah!
Objection!
More absurdity! That never happened! True, we've heard there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. Would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No. I'm afraid I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Mini Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting, the natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen and emptied your poison from it into her lungs?
Objection!
There could have been any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. He already said he didn't answer any questions.
Objection!
No, did not fall from his quivering hand. No, that can't be. If it was, how to explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself in examining the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter would go to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison was filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So this is how your modern justice system works. Our modern justice system works, is it? So what if my ink pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Ah! You claim I sucked the poison into my pen? That's a wild speculation, nothing more. Can we use the regent, please? It's wild speculation, nothing more. So you could bring me down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that? Think again! Looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. Therefore, it all depends on whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence. Ha! No such evidence could possibly.
Objection!
Meaning memo side. This is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this point, I assure you. Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence. Sit then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. Defense can prove, by means of this item, that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains a unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it any other way. Or, from another perspective. Simply was this chemical region. Anybody could check for traces of the poison. A region? What? One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen minimum is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No, you can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least you know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to this. Try to hold this against the highest position. What is this? Arms against the battlefield. Susato, with me. I'm there. Oh, snap! Did I do it right? That was Susato Takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryutaro Takedown. Heck yeah. The instant the first drop of reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, the devil got a hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. Excused myself and emptied the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Mini Memo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it's a top secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass it up. Then why did you... Then why did you... Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead? I went into that hut intending to quiz her on the situation. That's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman proposing to practice sure. Really, you must learn the differences between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian. What did you just call me? This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really depressing. You see, our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out of the crawl and back into the cave where you came from. That's when I remembered. But the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quick as possible, but I couldn't. Couldn't let her get away with what she'd done. She clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it's my journal spirit getting all fired up. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You often talk about justice. But surely, as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver justice. You saw it. There's no justice in the press. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up. That's what it was. A cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never come into it. And yet, that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? Done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. It came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, they're going to crush the free press. Then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? Let's not forget, Mini-Memo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Jesseline Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Takedown. Oh. Yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just using a manly way over here. It's almost unbelievable what this your first experience of Superior Court was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Naruhodo Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago, the way you handled this one, gives me hope that we are generally entering a new era of justice in this land. It's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me most kneeling. That the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Yuchi, do you have any final thoughts? Is he gonna cut it off? Is he about to cut it off? Cause that's a knife right there. Is he about to cut it off? Prosecutor Yuchi? Takatsuchi of the Yuchi clan have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today. Is he about to commit seppuku? Your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path of Yuchiism. Yuchi, is it? One hopes that is not the only way which he'll be mauling himself after the witness. Sprig of my top-knot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takatsuchi. Good grief. Saseki, what are you doing? Osanaga! Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Mimabi. Yes, Your Excellency? I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Yay! You already knew what he was gonna do, Pokegirl. You've already played this case. You already knew. Shut up. Court is adjourned. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Susato! Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Ray, and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you... Oh no, I'm gonna cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say congratulations belong to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger. Just throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... What? I'm the great defense lawyer Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to milk by tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. Well, I think about... I'll think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man. It felt so good. Yeah, it was so satisfying. It really was, wasn't it? Oh, isn't there anybody else we could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. Oh my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not. There it is at last. Ray's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense Attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo. Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. So miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? They heard it. They overheard it. What is happening? Saseki-san, Inspector Hosonaga. We hope you've been keeping well. Is that really you? Yes. Had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope. But it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't know. So dashing, so defiant. No! Terribly dashing, yes, and divine, definitely divine. Just look at you. I had no idea, Mr. Susato-san's Esquire, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san's Esquire's cousin. Astonishing, astounding, eternity. Poor Soseki-san, so confused. Still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. Extraordinary conundrum. It was an unwitting student from Japan that found him embroiled. Found himself embroiled. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Baileys, Soseki-san was free to return to Japan. Now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm the chief inspector at the police bureau who came up with Mr. Turtle and all this. I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event I had. Oh, I'm not a patch on you. I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I'm a professional, of course. Do worry about Inspector Host and Aga sometimes. I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as a head waiter of a restaurant. Then on a steamship of Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us on a journey. Stupid moss, get out of here. So it didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year. Ah yes, that English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, the man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? Now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On a voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Sherlock Holmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Mr. Holmes well, of course. Ah, my arch nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories he's published in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the defendant once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And the man was an exceptional doctor of medicine, the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must be a friend and partner of Mr. Holmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. On returning to Japan, I took my professorship at the Imperial University. But I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? Yeah, okay, so that actually is a good point, because he seems perfectly healthy. And we haven't really discussed, like, his condition when she arrived, because we were hearing that his health was declining. At the end of the last game, we heard his health was declining, which is why Susato had to leave Britain to come back as soon as possible. But he seems perfectly fine now. So what's the situation? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. What? When did that news come? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way? Or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of. Dear me, you reserve the most cutting glares for your fathers. You reserve the most cutting glares for your fathers, Susato. I'm sorry, my dear. I simply can't. Ah, let me go! Uh-oh. Minimamo-san. So one sir wasn't good enough for you? Got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor. Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. What? It's Jessamine Brett? No, not her. Student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. What? What? He must mean Kazuma? Wait. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never. Oh! Oh! What? Wait! What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Well, I did not expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. What? I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw had arrived, Eugene. And it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing. I'll be there shortly. Oh, Your Excellency. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend. Seishiro Chikoku. Seishiro! So Chikoku is... And I might say, since I last saw you, you seem to have taken more dashing of your purpose, Susato. So the judge knew. Did you know all along? From the start of the trial? A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take this risk. If Shishiro here hadn't known and he had recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes. Having rolled on the case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father. Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But, well done again, both of you. You did admirably. Oh, thank you very much. What did you think of my Sushiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Jessamine Brett? About Dr. Wilson? Now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. We're gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime. Nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san, Esquire. Could I have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Soseki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again, like the snow. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once. I will! As you know, my time in England was terrible, cursed, I have no doubt. Such an awful things I was embroiled in, thank goodness. Locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he had secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back to my... Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experience to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually having thoroughly quizzed me. But it's the very next day that he sent a telegram to you asking to return to Japan. What did he ask? What was it then? The particular part of my father was interested in? I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? 2 cases. Weren't you? We only know one. Of course, I can never forget. Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. Second one? You mean? Wait. The Hound of Bakersfield. Bakersville. The one Mr. Jones forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving news that any member of the public aware of is the first. But I don't care! I don't have to listen to what dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all those curious unanswered questions. The horrific, hideous case. The case of the haunted lodgings. What? The case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.